I'm Shauna Harper of Pivot Magazine, and I am excited to welcome you to another episode of Pivot Magazine's podcast show, where we love to share the stories of Canadian entrepreneurs at different stages of their business. So this month, our city is Montreal, and with us, we have the founder of Startup Montreal, Noah Redler. Hi, Noah.
Hey, Sean, how's
Hi.
it going?
Good, good. So are you the only founder? No, it's you and your brother, right? Together?
Yeah, I work with my brother, and there were a lot of people involved early on getting it off the ground and lending a hand. But we're the ones working on the city and looking at new ways to develop Startup Canada, Montreal.
Perfect. So why don't we start off with you kind of talking about maybe the partnership of Startup Montreal and Startup Canada, because I know that you guys were obviously one of the pilot cities to come on board as the communities. How has that benefited you guys setting up Startup Montreal?
Well, we came on board during the initial pilot project for the communities, and I think it started off as a great way to just be an independent and neutral organization on the ground, just looking to promote entrepreneurship with with a focus on bringing people together and filling in gaps where they existed, but also just kind of being a place where we could organize community events and that wasn't too much focused on politics or who was getting the most credit out of it. It's just a place where everybody can come together and, really support real connections.
Sounds good. So when we actually put it at startupmontreal.net, right? That's your website?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to go type in Startup Montreal, there's actually a couple of kind of organizations that come up under Startup Montreal. Has there been kind of, I guess, competition, or is it cooperation competition? What's kind of been the business climate, I guess, of the startup community there?
I think everybody's just cool and there are a lot of people doing their own thing,
Yeah.
but no one seems to be against each other. We're all just happy that there are people giving their time and being out there supporting the idea of building more entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
So it's really easy to use the same name or similar sounding names. I mean, they're catchy, they sound great, but I think it's done more with the same spirit in mind of trying to start up Montreal, and there's a lot of people that really share that message and that want to work on it.
Fantastic. And how about the business climate of the city? Kind of what types of startups are you guys seeing trending in your city?
Well, we're seeing some really cool stuff coming out of Montreal. A lot of new applications like BusBud, Breather. We got companies like Wajam, Frank and Oak. Founder Fuel is bringing in more companies, and there's more money being brought into Montreal to invest.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing a lot of more traditional entrepreneurs come out, like people going out and starting bakeries and people trying to be independent workers more and more and seeing where it goes and what they can build from it. So I think it's a pretty positive climate where a lot of people are starting to at least test the waters of entrepreneurship.
It sounds like it, because I know that oftentimes people think of startup as, just tech startup. And so when you mentioned bakeries and everything, I guess your startup community then is just any entrepreneur. It's not specifically tech then.
No, I mean, there tends to be a lot of focus because I think that's where the new entrepreneurs are really keeping it really headed towards. And not to say that it's all about applications or developing the next technology, but there's a lot of people integrating technology what they're doing. So even when we're talking about a baker, they might have an online store,
Mm-hmm.
and where it's all these resources coming together that we try to promote. So if technology developers can support and find new ways to expand more traditional businesses, then I think we should be promoting that message.
Perfect. And I know we've had conversations outside of obviously this interview, and I was really excited to hear about, I guess one of the ideas you had told me about was a mashup, I think. What are your kind of popular events, and can you explain maybe a mashup to the listeners? Because I remember thinking, wow, we have yet to do that in Prince George, but it's still on our list, and we have it tagged as Noah's suggestions. So
Yeah, the mashup was a really fun event we organized for the first time last year, and the idea was to take really large companies who have technological challenges and introduce them to the tech talent that's actually being developed organically right in the same cities or in the same country as them, and just exposing them to it and seeing where synergies can exist. So we had two companies come last year, which one was Canadian Tire, and the other one was Cromwell Real Estate, which is a large real estate firm here in Montreal. And they were both looking for solutions to some of their operational challenges, ways to make them more lean, more efficient. And instead of going through a more traditional process of finding a technology, a developer company or an app producer to make something more custom for them, they decided to go outside the box and see what startups could offer them in terms of services. And so we actually got 6 startups present to each of these companies and have a real opportunity to make a sale for solving their problem. And we actually saw after the event that we calculated this was about $50,000 to $100,000 in business that was done, not just through the presenters, but other people in the room that listened to these pitches and said, wow, now I kind of get that, and, I could use that in my business as well. So the idea of the mashup is to really promote the importance of sales and to give small companies a chance to pitch to really big companies that they would probably never get a chance to talk to.
Oh wow, that sounds even better than what I remembered you saying. That part there. So what are kind of your most popular events? I know that we have communities that are listening right across Canada that are trying to grow their startup community, and you guys are obviously one of the urban centers, and we're starting to get more urban center communities come on to Startup Canada's list here. What kind of events do you think are the most popular for cities like yours?
Well, I think the ones I have the most fun with are the ones where we collaborate and promote local entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Last year we tried a concept with a local startup called Trender that helps with facilitate meetings in a geolocation area. So if we're within a certain distance of somebody else on the platform, we can arrange a meeting between each other just randomly. And because we wanted to be present in the community, we piloted a project called Mobile Office Hours. And we launched that with Trender at the Noppen House, and just really kind of gave us a chance to talk about what a startup is doing and give people an image of practical ways they could use it in their lives. This year we're planning on doing that with a local company called Jobbook, which is a new API that integrates into websites and is a solution for human resources for the startup community. So there's that's what I really like in doing the most is finding ways that we could create little test pilot projects with and support small companies, and at the same time, add extra services to what we do.
Wow. And so are you guys an official kind of society or nonprofit, or how is it that you guys are structured for Startup Montreal?
No, we are totally connected to Startup Canada National. We're not an organization in an independent way. Okay. We do all of our fundraising through Startup Canada, and we love the relationship. We find that there's a lot of resources that come our way, and it's great when you get to meet people on a national level and have build a national network, because you get to hear a lot more great ideas that are coming from different places, and like we're talking about today, like different ways and different thoughts about how to develop communities on different levels and different sizes. Mm-hmm. And it's also a way we can help our startups if they ever need to meet somebody outside of the province, and at least we can help point them in the right direction. And that's what we're all trying to do here. I mean, you, me, we just want to find a way to help startups succeed.
Oh, I agree. So what about the entrepreneurial community now coming to the events? What is it? How do you guys get the message out? I mean, if you guys think back maybe over this last year or so, have there been things that you wish you did differently, or how, like sending out messages and getting people to come, or was it just that you sent it out and people just started coming right from the beginning?
No, we really had to do a lot of work in the beginning.
Okay, that's good to know.
It was an uphill battle for a good 6 months a year, and it was important for us to be proactive and go knock on a lot of doors and introduce ourselves on a very personal level, and just see what ways we collaborate with different organizations. Like our institutional partner is the Regroupement des Jeunes Chambres de Commerce du Québec, which is the Association of Young Chambers of Commerce.
Mm.
And we do some work with the Fondation de l'Entrepreneurship and different SEDEC and the SEDEC and Montreal New Tech, the New Tech Demo that we work a lot with, the Notman House, and it's a great way to work with the community. But we really have to go out there and show our value and make sure that we offer services and we help promote our partners to help drive their events forward. Because a lot of what we're doing, if we're going to be successful in collaborating with organizations and other people, is we have to be ready to give a lot and hope that we can develop strong relationships.
Oh,
But it's a lot of work.
there's going to be a lot of communities, I think, that are going to really be grateful for hearing that, because I think now that we've got some of our pilot cities on the go now, it looks like it's almost easy to get people to come out, and you rally in these communities right across Canada. It's fine, and we have been hearing on the phone calls that there have been some communities saying, "Well, is the beginning hard?" And so, thank you so much for sharing that, because I know that the new communities coming in that feel as though it seems like it's more of an uphill battle compared to everybody else can actually hear that no, everyone else kind of went through a bit of a struggle in the beginning too. So
yeah, and that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of it is you're building something, and I think it's more rewarding if you go through the tough trials in the early period and you come out with something stronger at the end.
so you're actually at Nottingham House now, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the campus director at Montreal's Notman House.
Okay. And so is that kind of the home base now for Startup Montreal?
Not technically, no.
No.
I guess I'm there, so it gets a little de facto, but
Yeah.
really it's two very independent things, and the Notman House is a role that the campus director of the Notman House is a role I'm happy to have, and I get to support the tech community in a different way. But it's nice that we have a good relationship with the Notman House, and we can obviously collaborate with it.
Yeah. So are you guys, do you guys have a co-working space in Montreal or a few co-working spaces? Has that been a trend that it has been in other urban centers?
Yeah, we've got, I think it's a growing trend in Montreal, and I think it's going to really take off. We have places like Station C and 601, the Ecto Center and RPM.
Yeah.
And there's also even a lot of startups opening their doors to be places for events. Like I know BuzzBud lets different startup events happen there all the time at no extra charge. We do that at the Notman House as well. And even like RPM and Ecto and a lot of other companies are being very generous with their space and their time to help promote this message.
Oh, fantastic. So what kind of advice would you give to a brand new community that's joining Startup Canada? How could they best use the Startup Canada, I guess, structure that's in place?
I think it's important to have a good vision of what you want your community to be, and what Startup Canada gives is a national network. It helps create resources. You can share a lot of ideas. You can bring best practices back to your community. But what you really have to do in the beginning is just go and start something and expect for your first event to be 10, 15 people. And that's not bad. If you organize a startup drinks, or you organize a networking cocktail, or any kind of event, think small and think about little successes and grow on them. I remember we did one event in our first year, which was trying to support a local charity, and we tried to gather a lot of people to come participate in the event. We got a lot of noise on social media, but nobody showed up. And when I say nobody showed up, I mean it was me and my brother standing there, just kind of looking at each other like, did we say today at this time? So it was kind
good
of funny.
Good times.
Yeah, you got to make the best of it. We just kind of kept tweeting like the thing was still going on and nobody knew the difference.
Oh, wow. But now you have a story to tell, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and they're not all going to be winners, but don't try to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
the best thing you can do is just trust that people will make connections when you give them a platform to do it.
Yeah.
And even if it's just a dedicated time to meet at a bar and have people talk, bar owners will give you a reserved section, and you can just kind of hang out there and just let people network with each other. If it's just finding a way to connect, to learn more about the resources, so you can share that with people, and become a place where people come and say, "Hey, do you know where I can go for this kind of advice?" And just being aware of the environment that's around you and the ecosystem that already exists. Just passing that message is going to be really important and helpful, and people will appreciate it. And soon enough, you'll be dragging 30 people to your event and 40 people to your event. And the first time you get 100 people show up at your event, you're going to be pretty blown away, because it's a pretty good feeling.
Oh, wow. So you mentioned drinks a few times. Is that kind of your entry event, kind of? I think a lot of communities have started off with drinks as kind of their way to open up the community. Has that been the same for Montreal?
Well, we had Startup Drinks long before Startup Canada was here. It had been going on for a long time.
Okay.
So I think the interesting thing about Montreal is that we already had so much going on, and we had to find our place within it. But I think for communities where there is no ecosystem, you're just getting started, it's a great first step, and it's a great way to just informally introduce you. It doesn't cost much. It's very easy to organize, and, really just get 10, 15 people getting there and have a good time and facilitate connections at the event. Then they'll be talking about it, and soon it'll be 30, 40, 50. And I know the Startup Drinks here can be anywhere between 40 and 100 people on the given night.
Oh, wow. Okay. What's your best event? I know I asked that question, but I think we went around because we're talking. Is it the mashup, or what's your best event, do you think?
I think it's the mashup. I think it's something that we really created in Montreal, and we hope other people use the model as well. And it was just a big success, and it's fun because it was really our big successful event. And people still ask us to date, like, when are we going to have the next one? And we're actually doing one in partnership with the Roulement de Jeunes Chambre de Commerce in their annual conference. And so we're going to have another great event with Gaz Metropolitan and the City of Montreal.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then we do another mashup in the fall again. So one thing I'd really like to do this summer, if I could figure out a way to do it, is have a entrepreneurial barbecue. Mm-hmm. But it's in the planning phases. We'll see if we can get it done.
Yeah. Just need more time. Just more time.
Always need more time.
No kidding. So, where can people connect with you? I know I mentioned the website is startupmontreal.net. Do you guys have a Twitter handle? Is it just yours personally?
I'm at Noah Red, but there's also at Startup MTL. Mm-hmm. Also, if anybody wants to shoot me an email, I'll respond as quickly as possible. It's Noah, Noah, at startupcan.ca. And yeah, those are the best ways.
Perfect. So again, this is Shauna Harper. Thank you so much for joining us, Noah, and thank you to all the Pivot listeners. Don't forget, you can always download an MP3 version of our podcast and re-listen to it while you're at the gym or making dinner or on your drive home. And make sure that you subscribe to Pivot, as this month we're going to be featuring some fantastic startup stories from Montreal and all over.